Share screen. Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Emmaus Borough Council meeting on Zoom. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and please remain standing after we say the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
flag
of
of
the
the United
States
States
of
of
America,
America,
and to the republic
for
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like everyone to just take a moment. We lost somebody very important to the Borough family. John Rice just passed away March 26th from, as you know, he's worked in our public works for 41 years. He started working there when he was 18, and he was the head group leader, and also he was a volunteer firefighter for the borough for 20 years and past assistant fire chief. His true joy was his family, especially his grandchildren, and his dedication to our community is unparalleled. And if we could just bow our heads for a moment of silence in memory of John. Thank you. All right, there's not a lot on the agenda tonight, so I expect the meeting to be over before sunset. And that being said, we have I'm on the planning commission. Hold on. I was like, where public appeals go? We'll have public appeals at this time. I will have Shane unmute our virtual guests. And if you have a public appeal, please state your name, turn your video on and state your appeal.
Good, Joe.
Yeah, this is Joe Wertman, 29 South 2nd Street in Emmaus.
This is Kenneth Knaus, 35 South 2nd Street in Emmaus.
Good evening.
This is James Wilson, 251 Powder Mill Lane in Emmaus.
Can you
Good
say
evening, everyone. We can hear you quite well. So go ahead.
what was the third person? I'm sorry. What was the third person's name?
James Gleason.
James Gleason.
And the second person
Do you
was
have a video, James?
Yeah, in a minute I will. I'm just traveling to get to my destination real quick.
Okay.
I can easily turn it on though for you guys.
the second person was
And
Ken
the second
Strauss.
person?
Kenneth Knaus, 35 South 2nd Street.
Kenneth Knaus. Okay. Got it. Okay.
I tried to enable my video, but it says the host has disabled it.
Hold on a second. You must be Mr. Gleason, right?
Yes.
All right. Let me
Yes,
let
sir.
me go find you. There you go. You should be able to get on it now.
Yeah.
All right. Which one of you would like to speak first?
Joe?
Yeah, Joe Wertman.
Go ahead.
I'm calling in reference with me and Mr. Knaus live next to each other. And I had a water line. My main line coming into the house started to drip. So I'm in the process of replacing it. And we just found out that my water line up at the curb, there are two shutoffs up there, one for me and one for Kenny Knaus. Mine doesn't work at all. So we found out I never had a water line come in there for 50 years, most likely. They brought Kenny's down in the middle of the yard and they put a Y tap in and brought it over to my house. So when this started leaking, the pipes is really old. The plumber I had was really afraid to try to put anything new on it because he's afraid the pipe would break. So we were going to go out in the yard, dig another hole, and try to cap it. And then Mr. Knaus was a little concerned about doing that because of the cost. So we're just trying to figure out what happened and when it happened. And no one seems to know. But I had the plumbers down here. I had Rob down here, but they have a little drawing on a piece of paper, and it doesn't line up. The year they had was 1979. Well, I lived here in 79. My wife is here since 1955. So I think what happened was in 79, that's when the water department discovered it by having to come out here, I guess, and turning one of our lines off to do a repair. So when they turn mine off, nothing happens. We turn Kenny's off, we both go off. And we're looking to see if we can get some compensation because this is not cheap. And the other thing is, if something would have been said in 1979, I was a 30-year-old man then. I was working. It could have been fixed a hell of a lot cheaper than it is now. I've been retired for 10 years. And I'm just looking for some kind of help, some kind of guidance.
So,
Okay, Mr. Canals would like to add something to that too.
sure thing.
Okay.
Okay, I live here 50 years. And we got this problem now. And Joe, or Mr. Wortman, had a plumber here to fix the leak in his house. Now, then we realized what they did. They put they call it it's a T anyway. And they ran a pipe from my line over to Joe's house, over to his house. And now for him to shut off the water, the plumber to shut off the water, he has to shut off my water. Well, he says, well, we'll run a hose over to your house. Well, that's all right for one day. I don't know. He sounded like it was going to take longer. But anyway, we got to resolve this issue. Oh, the plumber said, if I break that line trying to fix it in Joe's house, I'm going to have to put a new line in for my house. Now, my line is fine, as far as I know, and I won't have water. I'm 86 years old. I don't have the money to pay $8,000 or $7,000 for a new line from the curb into my house. It's about 100-foot run. And, well, I'm not going to pay it. I don't have the money to pay it. So I don't know what to do. The borough they screwed up. Shut up. They screwed up. And another thing they did, this wonderful borough of Emmaus, they did the same thing with a sewer line. My sewer runs under Joe's house to the alley where the sewer main is, and they didn't have an easement or anything. So now, to resolve this and make this whole thing whole again, I want a new sewer line run down the back, which is another 100-foot down the back and across my property to the sewer main. I don't have $15,000, which I estimate it would cost just from Joe's water line costing what it cost him. And that's the only thing. That's all. We want it resolved.
All right. And was the third gentleman, Mr. Gleason, are you tied to this also?
Yeah, I'll put him on.
No. No, he's not.
No, I'm not typing
what?
for this. I'm talking.
Mr. Gleason, you're a separate issue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you'll have to wait till we finish with this appeal then. Shane, are we aware of this situation right now?
Yeah,
It's not something we're gonna resolve. It's not something we're gonna resolve tonight, but
no. So I know nothing about the sewer issue. That was not made to my attention. And quite honestly, some of this is for our legal counsel to look at. But I will tell you that I believe that both of these gentlemen are accurate in their statement. You know, the drawing that I saw from the Public Works Director is, it definitely looks like when that water line was put in, when the house was built and public water went in there, there's definitely only one line that comes in and it tees off. And it's not appropriate. And quite honestly, we would not allow that today. It's our code officials' opinion that, well, he doesn't know why it was done. None of us worked here 50 years ago. Some of us weren't alive 50 years ago. But we do think that the borough, for some reason, approved it, but we cannot for the life of us find out or figure out why. And you know, it's our feeling that it's not appropriate, and for the exact reasons they're saying. One of them has a water leak. It's now going to affect the other one. And quite honestly, there should be a separate water line going to each house because they're two separate properties. The only thing that I could think of is maybe when they were built, maybe they were on one lot. I don't know. It doesn't look like it though. You know, from what we saw on the lot lines. But I don't know. You know, all I know is that it shouldn't be the way that it is. Outside of that, I would say that I think Mr. Dimick is probably going to have to.
I'll be glad.
But
I'll
I got
be glad to try to comment on it.
I got to tell you.
I can't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, what I was going to say is I got it.
go ahead, Shane. You go first.
All right. What I was going to say is I got to tell you, if we can't find anything as to any rhyme or reason as to why that was approved, I agree with these two. This burden should be as much on the borough as it is on them. And that the borough has a responsibility to address it. And I'll tell you this, we're not going to spend $10,000 a house because we would install the main ourselves, or the lateral line ourselves. Now the sewer, that's a different conversation. You know, sharing a sewer line coming out of the back of properties isn't necessarily something that's uncommon. You know, we have seen that in other places in the borough. Sharing a water line coming into the property is pretty uncommon for us. And Brad, can you speak to that? Because you are you would know as much as I do about that kind of thing.
You have to unmute him, or he has to unmute.
Yeah, I did unmute him.
Yes, thank you. While you all were speaking, I was trying to log in and get to my data server where I've got copies of the maps. I'll continue with that process. I haven't gotten to that particular sewer plan yet. Definitely, it sounds like the type of condition that we would not specifically undertake today. So I totally agree with everyone's assessment in that regard. I certainly would like to take a look at the sewer maps from 1961 to see if they shed any light on it, and also perhaps give us some idea of the proximity of the sewer to the two homes in order to be able to respond. So if, with your permission, I would certainly agree to look at that in detail first thing tomorrow morning and reach out to Shane and if appropriate, pass information along to the solicitor's office so they can see what the arrangement appears to have been based on the as-built documentation from the sewer system. I'd also like to ask if the borough could send me a copy of the cut-in card for the water, and that way I can take a look at both utilities and try to offer suggestions on what may be the most expeditious approach to trying to resolve this.
All right, and I believe our solicitor has some comments he wanted to make.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I would like to tell both callers that this is a bad situation. I just had a private client that paid $65,000 to install a lateral. So I understand this deeply. But the law is fairly clear, and it's been clear in the borough for quite some time, that each house is supposed to have its own water lateral with its own shutoff. Now, the question is, what happened and how did this get by? And I think that's what Brad, our engineer, was talking about, reviewing to see if the borough approved it or whether the plumber just put it in without anyone's knowledge. We'll have to dig into it, and we'll try to get a fair answer, and then it may go to committee or council as a whole to decide what actions to take. But technically speaking, the law itself, as Mr. Pepe explained, was that they're supposed to have their own lateral. So give us a chance to look at it.
Shane, would you want that added to my meeting? I have one April 14th, next Wednesday, for Public Works.
Jeff, does that give you and Brad, does that give you enough time to research that for us?
I would say yes for me.
It gives me enough time. The law is fairly clear. The question is what factually happened.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
Is it okay if I say one more thing?
Sure.
This is Joe Wortman from 29 South 2nd. I was one that started this just, I guess, about 30 days ago because my water is dripping in the basement. I'm catching the bucket and I'm running into a drain. But, you know, I wanted my own water. I had to do something. So I already had my yard's all torn up. The line is in and it's 2 foot away from being connected. And then we stopped because of the situation. I already spent $5,800 to get this done because I need water, and me and my wife, you know, we can't really go too far away, vacation for a couple of days, because I don't know if that's going to blow. The plumber said that's a bomb is ticking.
Just give us Give us a chance to review it, please.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. We have your phone numbers, I believe. Did we get their contact information, Shane?
no, don't share your phone number online.
Yeah, no, don't say it here, but
Okay.
I think we have their information at town hall.
okay. So we will be in touch with you, gentlemen. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your help.
All right, Mr. Gleason, I believe you're next with an appeal.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. This is my first time ever participating in any type of formal government meeting, so I apologize if I come off as a bit uncouth or not knowing of exact procedure. But I am currently standing in front of the Emmaus Police Department because last week I was assaulted by a Sergeant Schilling on camera in the CVS on Chestnut Street for the crime of cleaning their bathroom. I went into the CVS to purchase some items and use the restroom. There was fecal matter all over the place to the point where I brought the associate that was behind the register back to confirm it. I asked her whose responsibility it was, if it was hers or a cleaning company's. Her answer to me was, I've worked here for 3 years and I can't give you that answer because I don't know. On my own dime, I went and purchased cleaning supplies and went and cleaned the restroom. When I finished, I went to the ATM machine near the front vestibule and was withdrawing money. And that's when Sergeant Schilling walked in. Me and him he arrested me for an incident in November. And when he walked in, just joking around, I said, "Oh, let me guess, you're here for me." His response to that was, "Yeah, I am." Just joking around, I said, "What? It's a crime to take money out of an ATM now?" And he said, "No, what are you doing? You clean the bathroom?" First of all, whether or not the manager or acting supervisor or whatever of the CVS called because I cleaned the bathroom is neither here nor there. I find it ridiculous that police wasted resources to respond to a call about somebody cleaning a bathroom where 2 months ago, I found a bag of drugs in my apartment complex's parking lot. And when I called the police, their response was, "We're a little busy. We'll get to that when we can tonight." But that's another issue. Me and Sergeant Schilling had a little bit of a back and forth that evening that is recorded. I have recordings of it, and CBS's security footage can pick up where I left off. I asked him at one point, "Am I under arrest or am I free to leave?" He said, "No, you're being detained." I asked him what for, and his response was, "For cleaning the bathroom." I found that a little bit absurd and asked him what the statute number on cleaning a bathroom was, because if I'm being detained for cleaning the bathroom, it should be on the book somewhere. His response to that was, "Don't question me." I asked him a second time. His response was, "You're going to do what I tell you." And when I asked him the third time, he dug both of his hands into my chest, gripped very tightly, pushed me back over 100 feet from the front registers, past both of the sliding automatic doors, while telling me I'm under arrest and that he is putting a trespass on me, which is not the way that works because nobody from the actual store requested a trespass put on me. I could see the look in his eyes and hear the tone of his voice that he was about to further enhance the altercation. I was genuinely in fear that he was going to start hitting on me, more severe than him grabbing me by the chest, digging his hands in, and bull rushing me over 100 feet in reverse. If I was under arrest, that is not the way to arrest somebody. He did not try to detain me. He did not try to subdue my hands. If I had had a weapon on me, it would have been easily accessible. He did this out of pure anger and hatred. I had the wherewithal to pull out my phone and call a bluff and tell him he was on Facebook Live to say hi to the world, at which point he let me go. Now, if I was under arrest for this incident, he would not have let me go. It's been 5 days since that incident took place. I've seen him several times, and I've yet to be placed under arrest for the crime, as he would put it, of cleaning a bathroom. His whole retort to this was, what I did was not normal. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't find sitting in somebody else's fecal matter to use the bathroom as normal. Maybe he does. I was not raised that way. The bottom line is he was called because I cleaned their bathroom. He physically attacked me over that and falsely placed me under arrest. Since then, I filed a claim with Judge Butler's office. I have talked to the district attorney's office, who Judge Butler signed off, is escalating it to the district attorney's office, and they are going to take it and review it. I was told that you guys are the overseers of the police force, so I decided I would come here and inform you guys of what happened.
Could I answer that, Mr. President?
Well, I just want to say, Mr. Gleason, you are correct in coming here, but the council is not in charge of the police department. That would be Madam Mayor. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to the solicitor.
That is what the president has said is 100% correct. Normally what we do, Mr. Gleason, is if you have a complaint against the police, we usually request that it be in writing and signed and detailed, and then we investigate it. And
that would be the criminal complaint that I filed with Judge Butler.
No. This is an internal investigation now. Forget the criminal part of it. Okay. That'll be elsewhere. Since we're dealing with that other part of it, we really should not discuss this matter because it's now escalated to a legal issue. But we will be glad to review any complaint you have if you put it in writing, even though you made it today, you shouldn't have any trouble to be able to make the complaint to the mayor, and she will turn it over to the appropriate people in the police department to look into it. On the other things, I don't think anybody on council should discuss that at this point.
All right, Mr. Gleason,
Oh, I apologize.
could you hear me, Mr. Gleason?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Are you all right with what Mr. Our solicitor said?
Yes. Also, then, if I can ask a question of why the Emmaus Police uses allotted funds for things outside of their buildings, such as what basically amounts to microphones on the building next to them to listen to the public within the vicinity of their police station, but is the only police force in the county to not wear body cameras. Had they worn body, this incident would have also been recorded from a firsthand point of view from Sergeant Schilling. They're really the only, I've been told they're really the only police force in the whole entire Lehigh Valley to not wear body cameras, despite taking massive funds from home.
So
Mr.
I'll
Gleason.
answer that, Mr. Oeberg. First and foremost, we're not going to talk about in detail what their funds are spent on, other than the fact that we have a very good police department. But secondly, just so you know, Mr. Gleason, it is a good point that they do not have video cameras. We received a grant and we have funded for the purchase of those body cameras, which will be getting installed on our department this year, actually.
Okay. Do you know when was that grant approved?
Actually,
Do you know
we're not-
offhand?
yeah, I do. The grant we received, actually, we just got the approval from it at the beginning of this year, and we're not allowed to spend funds prior to April 1st, according to the state.
Okay. Well, I thank you for the information. And like I said, I do apologize if this was the wrong forum and the wrong way to address this issue. I just don't think that it's fair that a gentleman who's such high in the police force basically gets to intimidate. All right. I'm going to put it like this. When I got home that night, my wife was terrified. Again, because of an incident that directly or indirectly involved Sergeant Schilling. She packed bags for us, and we actually left town for a day and a half. She was that frightened. On Sunday, I was not in the house. I was on the phone with her, actually on FaceTime, and somebody banged on the door as like the cops would, like a 4-knock pound with the back of the fist. And she started trembling in fear and froze. She gets extremely frightened anytime an Emmaus police cop passes us, because she doesn't know if she's going to be harassed, I'm going to be harassed, what the end result of this is going to be. Now, my crime in November, I admitted to it. I'll take my lumps. I'm going through the criminal justice process.
Could I give you advice?
Sergeant
You
Schilling
shouldn't
should
talk
be
about
impartial.
your own. You shouldn't talk about your own situation. Really, it's for your own benefit. I'm not telling you that for
That's
any
our
other reason.
Solicitor.
Okay. But there's also the fact that during I have to say this and I apologize. During a preliminary hearing last week, there were facts that Sergeant Schilling could have refuted from the witness
Mr.
as
Levenberg.
100% untrue.
Yeah, I think our solicitor just said that we're not gonna.
Okay. All right. I thought he was saying that for my behalf and my safety, which I would have waived. I'll waive that right now.
No, don't.
If I can just say this.
All right, I think at this point, we got your appeal. Our solicitor suggested you doing a written complaint to the mayor, and then you have the criminal element going forward through the district justice, and then we also have, if you do the criminal complaint with the mayor, then you have that process also. Okay, Mr. Gleason?
Okay, thank you for your time, guys, and it's been a really humbling experience being part of this process, and I thank you guys for holding the open meetings as you do.
Mr. Gleason, you did fine with your appeal, all right, just so you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that, sir.
Anyone else with a public appeal? Hearing none. We'll give Shane a chance to Mute everyone again.
Brett, you're still muted. Brett, you're muted.
It wasn't unmuting for me. I was clicking it and
No, so Brent, I have to individually unmute every one of you. So I have to go and click on every box to unmute you.
My apologies, Shane. You just did me first, that's all.
All right.
Actually, you were fifth.
Community minute. Does anyone have anything to bring forward? Hearing none. We have no special presentations. Reading of the minutes. We have the minutes from March 15th, 2021. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes? Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Any questions or discussion or corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. Items 7 through 14, we have nothing, which leads us to 7 through 13, which leads us to item 14, items not on the agenda. Does anybody have anything to bring forward that's not on the agenda?
So Brent, I don't know if there's an engineer's report or a solicitor's report. We might want to ask those two while they're here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did skip over those. All right. Borough engineer, do we have a report for the borough engineer?
No, not at this time. Thank you. Certainly, if council has any questions regarding utilities, besides the situation on 2nd Street that we talked about tonight, I'll be happy to address.
Thank you. Solicitor's report.
Very briefly, the revised Verizon agreement has been in the hands of Verizon for over 3 weeks. I have not heard from them. I am waiting. Nothing further progress.
All right, thank you. It's actually 11 through 14. No, we don't have anything. Does that nobody had anything to bring up that's not on the agenda? That leads us to the mayor's report. Madam Mayor?
Thank you. Just for information purposes, Officer Hurd has finished his field training. So he is out on patrol. He has been assigned to a platoon. So if you run into him, introduce yourself, and he's out. Other than that, progress.
Thank you. Committee reports. Public Works Committee Chairman Anders.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing for official action this evening. Just a reminder that our compost site is open and ID is required to be checked in as you're bringing the items in. With that, I will report our next meeting is Wednesday, April 14th at 4 p.m. and I will report progress. Thank you.
So I'll tell
Chairman
you,
Anders,
yeah, just to make a comment about the ID, if you don't mind.
I was going to comment on it myself, but go ahead.
Yeah, so it's working great. We've had about 15 cars a night turning away because we're checking IDs. So, and we
process is working.
Well, and at this point, like they're seeing us checking IDs at the gate and they're just driving, they're just turning right on the minor street rather than coming in.
I was just going to say my neighbor was up at the compost and while he was being checked, 2 cars turned around while he was there. And I was there today and one of our public works worker up there said that gentleman came through and he checked his ID and it was East Pine Street, I think it was East Pine. And the gentleman happened to live 150 feet outside the borough. He says, I only live 150 feet outside the borough. And our public works director did the right thing and says, sorry, you're not able to come in, which is good because if the word gets out or he tells a neighbor or something and that gets back to the borough, it ends up coming back to our public works director or public works worker that would have let him in. So the process is working. And hopefully all the problems that came with everyone from the other municipalities coming in, that disappears too. And I think it will.
Absolutely. And I will say this, I went by on a Saturday and just out of curiosity seeing, they were moving people along at a good pace. There was no real long lines all the way down the road or anything. Like they were doing a great job, the public works employees, with the checking and keeping cars moving. But it's good to see it, and I do, notice what they were doing. So it's appreciative of their efforts.
All right. Health, Sanitation, and Codes Committee, Chairman Balliet, you have a lengthy list.
Thank you, Mr. President. And we're going to get through this list together. We're going to have a little help with Mr. Yaus on some answer a few questions for us. So what we're going to go over first is Resolution 2021-12, which is revising Resolution 2021-10 to modify condition of approval for developers for the annex at the fields at Indian Creek. And with that, we will, Brad will give us a brief description of what happened there.
Well, thank you. My understanding is that the developer's attorney has requested a minor revision to the language in the resolution, specifically because of the nature of the proposed improvements in the borough having an impact, but not specifically requiring a plan approval by the adjacent municipality. Solicitor Jeff might ask if you have any more detail on the specific change that's included in the resolution.
I do, Mr. Engineer. I'm going to make this as simple as possible. This all goes back to that lot that the neighboring township objected to. It was in, it was out, it's back in. Now that it's back, you have to understand these are all condos, so there's no lots. There are only condos. So what this plan really does is realign these are all private streets, so it realigns one private street. And of course that requires a new preliminary final plan, so you have the correct street. They have to, as part of your ordinance or resolution here, you will require as-built. You will require them to explain the reason for their change and the impact. And they must notify anyone with an easement along that road that is being realigned, because there was some question of encroachment with a couple of deeds. There was only 2 or 3 units affected. They won't really be affected now because they're moving it in a way that it's away from it. But they will be notified. So basically, this is just a new preliminary final plan with a private road realignment within the existing condos, which have no lots. And if I said anything wrong, Brad, you correct me.
No, I totally agree with that. It sounds more complicated than it is, but that was a good description. Essentially, the 5.5 acre tract and the road, which will be private, and the utilities within the road, which will use the road as the easement to allow them to be run there, is part of the plan that has been approved for the 5.5 acre annex parcel. The difficulty was that it actually impacts where the road connects into the existing approved plan. And as the solicitor indicated, there is a means and method allowed to amend the plan effectively in the form of an as-built document, which is more appropriate in a case like this when you're not dealing with changing a plan of record regarding a public street. So it was a request essentially from the developer side of the table to not require the full re-approval and re-recording of a plan until effectively being able to file it as an as-built at the end of the project.
All right.
So our office supports it, and the solicitor's office has reviewed the legal documentation that's presented in the resolution.
All right, so resolution 2021-12 is revising resolution 2021-10 to modify the condition of approval of developers preliminary/final land development and the lot consolidation plan for the annex at the fields of Indian Creek. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve that resolution? Councilman Andrews, seconded by Councilman Balliet. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Yaus. And for that, our next action item is Resolution 21-13, and that is also for the fields at Indian Creek and for their sewage planning module. They have met all the criteria for that, and I'd like to place that in the form of a motion to approve this.
Motion to approve resolution 2021-13. Is there a second? Councilman Hart, any questions on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
Thank you. Next up on the list is Resolution 2021-14, and this is for accepting and approving a deed dedication of right-of-way in and for extension of Green Street in connection with Cedar Crest Development LP land development plan for proposed convenience store. Shane, do we need to have a little bit more of an explanation on this, do you think, from anybody?
Well, I think in short, this is the whole Green Street construction that the borough ends up, with our new public, our public street that's, one of the things that were in the plan approval. I think that's the short version. I don't know that Brad or Jeff need to add anything to that, but that's the quick and skinny about it. You knew it was coming. Now this is the official action for us to move forward with that.
In a nutshell, Lot 3 is going to be dedicated to the borough for open space, and that's the one with the trail on it. There is a road that is being dedicated, I believe it's Green Street, as I recall. And that's going to be dedicated, and you'll need that to get your liquid fuels. There's going to be a bill of sale for the public improvement lines that are underneath to turn those over to the borough. And basically that is almost going to wrap this up. I believe they've also asked for some public improvements to be released. Brad, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a request for some public improvements to be released.
At this time, they're not requesting more. There has been a reduction in the financial security for most of the improvements associated with the development. There are just a few items that remain on what we would call punch list status. There are some evergreen trees to be planted now that the weather is better, and a little bit of cleanup alongside of the trail. So those things as punch list items still need to be done, but security is currently still in place to guarantee that they're completed properly. So what you're looking at is the borough actually taking title to the street and recording that at the proper location at the courthouse. So as solicitor indicated, it will be added to the borough's liquid fuels mapping linear miles. And that's the first resolution as was presented by Councilman Balliet.
All right, so is there somebody want to make a motion to approve resolution 2021-14? Councilman Balliet, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
So with that, we're going to move on to resolution 2021-15, accepting and approving dededication of Lot 3, open space in connection with the Cedar Crest Chestnut Development LP and land development plan for proposed convenience store. I'd like to put that in a form of a
Motion by
motion.
Councilman Balliet, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
Thank you. Last on this project is resolution 2021-17, accepting and approving a bill for certain requirements, improvements in connection with Cedar Crest Chestnut Development, LP, and land development plan for proposed convenience store. I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Councilman Balliet. Is there a second? Councilman Hart. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
All right, thank you, guys. Last on my list here for official action would be extending a 1-year contract extension with Whitetail Disposal for our recycling and trash pickup. I think they've been doing a really great job, and we have our complaints are way down. They're helping us out with dumpster days and hazardous waste and stuff. So we discussed this at committee and figured that this is absolutely the way we wanted to go. So I'd like to put it in a form of a motion to extend their contract.
Motion by Councilman Balliet, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. Any questions or discussion?
Just one clarification. It's an extension for 1 year because I believe your contract allows an extension for up to 3 years. So this is a 1-year
Yes, sir.
extension.
Correct. Councilman Hart.
I was just gonna make the point that, for the public's listening in on this, this is embedded as an option in our current contract to exercise a 1-year extension. And I believe, Mr. Solicitor, that it allows for 2 more of these in the next 2 years if we so desire.
It does.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
Attached are some meeting notes from our last meeting. For the record, we have our date set for dumpster day and hazardous household waste. Dumpster day is going to be September 16th, and hazardous waste day is going to be October 18th. I'm sure as it gets closer, we'll ask everyone for help to organize that and make sure we get that going. And then Shane has almost finished up our zoning RFP, so that should be going out shortly, and that's going to be a good thing for town. Our next meeting will be April 28th at 4:45. With that, I'll report progress.
Chairman Balliet, what was the date in October again for the hazardous
18th.
waste day?
18th.
Is that a Monday? October?
It's October 16th.
It's 16th.
Yeah, it's 16th.
Sorry, it's October 16th.
That's the same day as the Halloween parade?
Yep, that would be it.
Isn't that our 100th anniversary Halloween parade?
Wait, you can't drop your stuff off during the day and do the Halloween parade at night?
I'm looking at more on the lines of do we not need the volunteers, the council members for volunteering, or is that only for the other day?
So that HHW, yeah, you can do them both, can't you?
Okay, I was just questioning.
Listen,
I was
coming
wondering
from a guy that's getting ready to do a 50-mile race, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be able to handle hanging out for a couple hours.
For the record, Mr. President, I did mess that up. It is September 18th is dumpster day and October 16th is hazardous household. I had them flipped.
Okay. All right, Parks and Rec, Shane, I'll disregard that comment about the endurance fund. All right. Although I still might be recovering then. All right, Parks and Recreation Committee Chairwoman Baumgartner.
President, we have nothing for official action. I just want to share a reminder that April 7th at 7 p.m. we will have the last meeting for the Lions Field Park Master Plan. And then in June, we'll have a public meeting about the park study and the plans for Borough Line and for Lions Field. So that'll be exciting that we're wrapping that up. Again, I encourage you, if you have not completed the survey, the park study survey is still available. We also have a pool study survey that is also available. So spread the word, take it if you haven't taken it yet, if you have something to say about the pool. I feel like there was something else I was going to mention. Oh, we do have our concerts coming up in the summer. We will have the pool open, as you know, from last meeting. There'll also be 2 movies in the park. So just like the Recreation and Entertainment Commission social media pages for updates on those. We'll also have that on the website. And council members will probably be asked to volunteer. So I encourage you all to join us in making those great events. So that's all I have to report. Our next meeting is actually tomorrow, April 6th at 4:45 p.m. via Zoom. I report progress.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee Chairman Hart.
Mr. President, there weren't any meetings of the Public Safety Committee since our last council meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for April 12th at 9:15 a.m. on Zoom. I'll report progress.
Thank you. General Administration Committee is myself. We have Resolution 2021-16, the CDBG grant application. This is the one that we do yearly. Waiting for it to come up. It's approving the application to Lehigh County and the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for community development block grant funds. Is this the one we use for curb cuts, the handicap ramps, Shane?
Yes.
So it's a yearly grant that we apply for. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-16? Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilwoman Baumgartner. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. During the General Administration Committee, it was agreed by the committee that we will start in-person council meetings May 3rd. Committee meetings will still remain virtual. There is nothing in the state law saying that we have to meet in person unless individual committees decide that they want to meet in person. That will be, I guess, by committee can decide. But that's something we need to vote on, Shane, or is it just informational?
Jeff, what do you think?
Technically, that it's the president's prerogative unless the board overrules it.
Well, does anyone not favor going in-person meetings starting in May? I'm assuming if you do not want to attend in person, they can still attend by Zoom. Is that correct, Shane?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we'll start our first meeting in May. And be nice to see everyone in the same room. Of course, we'll be required to wear a mask, I'm assuming, unless that changes, but I don't see that happening. Our next meeting is April 8th, this Thursday at 9 a.m. I report progress. Budget and Finance Committee Chairman Dufresne.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm waiting for my iPad to load here with the bill list. So we have a bill list for official action, Resolution 2021-18, resolved by Borough Council to authorize payment of the April 5, 2021 bill list as follows. Bill list $525,436.68. Payroll number 6, $168,025.65. Payroll taxes, $53,572.79 for a total of $747,035.12 done this 5th of April, 2021. And I put that in the form of a motion.
By Councilman Dufresne, seconded by Councilman Balliet. Any discussion? I have one question. the ambulance chief advertising for it was almost $900 for the morning call, I believe, and Indeed, is that correct? Indeed?
Yeah.
It's like 22,000 something. Is that over $3,000 we're advertising for ambulance chief?
Absolutely. Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, I think if we're spending that much money, are we keeping track of where we have the most success? I mean, I'm assuming you already know what that is, but worst.
I wouldn't be spending the
we
money.
have
Yeah,
one
I won't be
found
spending the
success.
money that I'm spending on Indeed if we haven't had past success on Indeed. The problem is, I'll be
Well-
very frank with you. The problem is the salary that we're offering is not the market rate for an ambulance chief, and therefore I have not been able to find a qualified ambulance chief yet for what we're offering. It comes down to that. And so we're in the interview process again. I'm hoping that we have, a couple good qualified candidates to go in front of the committee, but this is the fourth time over the course of a year that I've gone down this road. I've done national searches, I've done regional searches, I've done local searches, and quite honestly, what we've come up with is a pool of candidates that do not fit my expectations of what our ambulance chief should be for the salary that we're offering. That's the problem. So we've expanded our search as much as we can.
Okay.
We're still struggling, and that's why you're seeing the expenses that you've seen with advertising, because that position is sat vacant now for a year and 4 days. And that's a problem.
All right, it just got me a little off guard. I don't remember.
No, I know.
spending
So
that
this
much money
time,
before.
this time
That
we,
excited.
yeah, this time what happened on, well, so first of all, morning call, and even their employees will tell you that their advertising is an absurd amount of money to advertise in that newspaper. But what it captures is a large audience of people. So we advertise there, but the Indeed, what we did was we now spread it so that we tried to target people in Maryland, people in New Jersey, people in New York, and people in Delaware. So what we did was we actually did 4 regional advertisements as well as Pennsylvania. So that's why that cost went up, because we tried to expand that search as much as we could.
All right, thank you. Also, I noticed the bill list was 40 pages long, and it's usually in the 40s when we only have one meeting a week. One meeting a month. And usually when we have two meetings a month, it's usually in the 20s. I'm just wondering, are we going on a spending spree or what? I know earlier in the year, we usually do spend more than later in the year for obvious reasons, but.
Yeah, so I'm not going to comment on that other than, you were commenting 6 weeks ago that we only had like a 15-page bill list. So I would tell you that
surprising on the other end, though.
Yeah, I would tell you that it's starting to even itself out.
Fair enough. All right, any other discussion on the bill list? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
All right, next, you can see the significant revenue and expenses there that's in your packet. And then the next thing that we have for action is to apply for the 2021 General Authority Grant. It's to send a request letter out there, and Shane has that in our packet. So I'd like to put that in the form of a motion. That happens every year. It's, a formality that we have to, let them know, the items that we're utilizing, that we would like to have funded.
Motion by Councilman Dufresne, seconded by Councilman Hart. Any discussion? I think we should put in the letter that they fund all of it. That would be nice. I know, it's a pipe dream. So anyhow, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
I think at this point, Mr. Lavenberg, we're just hoping for them to fund something.
Yes. Yeah, I know. They're having a rough year, I know.
All right, so then the meeting minutes are there. There's a lot of stuff going on here in budget and finance with the, the possible remodeling of the buildings and our sewer lines and a whole bunch of stuff. You can read that all in there. Shane's putting together a presentation on the buildings. It's going to have some financing options in there that I'm helping him with banks and bonds and whatnot. So a whole bunch of things going on there. Unless anybody has any questions there, I'll report progress.
Thank you. Community Relations Planning and Development Committee Chairwoman McManamy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing for official action this evening. Our next meeting is Monday, April 12th at 4:30 p.m. via Zoom. I report progress.
Thank you. We have junior council members report. Jonas?
The school has not been open for the past week due to the rising COVID cases, but tomorrow the school will open again, and with that, I report progress.
Thank you. We have 3 sets of meeting minutes from our boards and commissions. Personal appeals part 2. Does anybody have a personal appeal? We'll unmute our virtual guests.
Give me just a second. All right, there you go.
All right, if you have a personal appeal, just state your name and what your appeal is. Hearing none.
All right, hold on.
Shane, mute.
Yeah, let me hit the mute and then I'll unmute you guys. All right. Okay.
Which leads us to Borough Manager's report.
Yeah, so I have several items to report on. First of all, today we conducted the reverse auction for electricity rates. You'll see if you've refreshed your iPads what those rates look like right now. We are going to hold off on awarding that. We're going to run another auction in 2 weeks, and we'll also continue to solicit some proposals from some independent contractors as well, just to see what the what the comparable rates might be outside of an auction. Everyone's saying the same thing, that electric rates are going up. That was definitely evident in the nine people that participated in the auction, as well as the other outside firm that did not. So I gave you kind of a calculation if it comes in at 5.6 cents, as compared to our 5.1145 something, what that difference would be overall for a year, which is about $7,000 for costs. So we'll continue to monitor it. Mr. Dufresne was actually in my office when I was on the phone with one of the brokers today. I got some good information as far as where the market is, where it's heading. Both of the brokers that I've been dealing with are saying the same thing, and that's they expect regulatory actions to drive up electric rates over the next couple of years. So we'll have to, when that auction, so it's going to be the same thing. They're going to do it the day of our council meeting. So I'll have to do the same thing on the 19th, which is, I'll post the information to your agendas, by around lunchtime. I think the auction's at 1 on the 19th. So I'll post right after the auction as to what the finished rates were, and we'll talk about what you want to do, afterwards, whether it's awarded or wait until later. Normally around the end of April and beginning of May is where the rates have been the best for us as far as what they come in at. So we'll have to have that conversation.
And my only question with that is, I know with residential, if you have a contract with somebody and you switch rates, I don't know if it's 1 month or 2 months. I want to say 2 months. If you switch further before that, you can be penalized. If we were to switch in April or May, I saw that ours expires in August, or ends in August.
Our
Is
contract
there
will,
same thing?
Yeah, our contract will hold until August.
It's a futures
So it wouldn't kick in
contract,
till then.
Brent. So
Yeah,
what he's
it's a
getting is basically looking out till August to start, and then it's going forward.
There's no
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I think it's 2 months for residential, but you can do it now with it starting in August then. Okay.
Yes.
dumb question, Shane. There's no way to go to the current company and say, hey, we're shopping, but if you held this rate for us for another year, we would, sign on.
They're actually they're actually part of the process. But here's the other thing is, so their rate is not a true 5.15 anymore because of some regulatory changes in Pennsylvania last year. They added an extra fee onto our bill. It's like $4 for one of the bills. They called it a market change. So And in their current contract, that actually gave them the right in their current contract that they would do that if there were any regulatory changes. They are allowed to increase things. So, that's one of the things that we need to be careful of with whoever we sign, that they're not allowed to, that they're not going to be able to make any changes. But yeah, that's something that about a year ago that hit, and we contacted our broker when it did, and he said, well, here's the problem. So, so they're not a true 5.15. We've got another small charge that's added in there. So to be honest, to be fair, we should make it competitive. All right. Any other questions about that? Okay. I've hired 3 summer park kids. We're still looking for 1 more. The applications are not coming in. We're hiring at $9.50 an hour. But we've hired Kyle Hahn, Logan Hahn, and Mason Reed as summer park kids. One more thing before I get into the last thing. Mr. Lavenberg has a birthday coming up. And Brent, what are you, 30, 40, 50, 60?
How many years he served.
Yeah. So my understanding is Mr. Lavenberg has a birthday tomorrow.
Yeah.
So happy birthday, Brent.
Thanks. Terry.
So the last thing on a more serious note, and we need to get this out as soon as, we found out this afternoon. The mayor contacted me and said, I didn't think we passed a tax increase. And I said, we didn't. Your tax bills are incorrect. And it's important that everybody knows that, because we need to correct it and get new tax bills out ASAP. What we found out is that there are 2 numbers that are transposed in your tax bill. And we believe it was a miscommunication in the resolution, not necessarily the tax collector's fault. Your tax bill says that your general fund tax is 6.3514. It's supposed to be 6.3154. So the 5 and the 1 are transposed in your tax bill. That is a change of 0.49%. So it's less than 0.5% off, but it's still off. It's wrong. That's not what you adopted. We adopted no tax increase. It's our responsibility to fix that, to get a new tax bill out, people's taxes. The good news about it is your taxes aren't going higher when we send the bill out, it's going lower. So you're going to want that new bill. Anybody that paid their taxes ahead of time, we will send a refund out. It's 100% our fault. We will address it immediately. I have a call and an email into the tax collector. So as soon as I communicate with him, we will get that process moving. But what happened was, again, the 5 and the 1 were transposed between the resolution and the tax bill itself. So there was no tax increase for the borough. We held the taxes, but that's not what not what your tax bill is showing. So we'll get that corrected right away and get that fixed. So Mrs. Gilbert, thank you for letting me know.
You're welcome.
I saw that on Facebook. Somebody.
Well, of course you did, Roy. We would expect you to see that on
That's what drew it
Facebook.
to my attention too.
And I didn't say it because I just thought it was a mistake what they said.
It was a mistake what they said, Roy. They said 10% higher. It's not 10%.
Correct.
Yeah, it's less than 0.5%, but it's still
maybe $10 higher.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I think the average difference is probably about $6 to $7 on a bill. But we need to get that fixed, get that amended. Anybody that pays their taxes early, because there are people that drop them off as early as today. So we will have the tax collector process it as normal, and we'll cut the checks directly out of our borough account. Is what we'll
Shane,
do.
how will we handle it if somebody comes to pay tomorrow and we didn't get the new bills out yet? Are we going to say, well, you're going to receive a new bill and tell them to come back, or how are we going to handle that?
Well, if they already pre-wrote the check, that's probably what we would tell them is void your check and we'll send you a new bill. If they're there to pay with a new check, we'll talk to the tax collector. Maybe we can just recalculate real quick. I mean, it's not rocket science. You look at your assessed amount on your bill, you multiply that by the millage, and that's what your tax bill is. So it's not rocket science. I mean, we could figure it out if they really want to cut their check, right there on the spot.
Just wanted to be prepared.
Yeah.
If somebody comes tomorrow, they're
Yeah.
prepared.
So we will also, we'll do our press release. I'm sure that gives Lou and Jake something to write about tonight. But we'll also do an auto dial. We'll post it on our website. We'll swallow hard and make sure that the public is aware that their tax bill is incorrect. But the good news is it actually goes down by a few bucks. So with that, if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask. You have several meetings coming up. Your next one is a big one, and that's on the April 14th. All right, expect a 2 to 3 hour presentation. Okay. Go ahead, Shanna.
I was just going to ask, how are we putting the word out about that?
We've already put that word out. So it's been advertised. It's on our website. It's on our Facebook page. So it's out there.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Progress.
All right, I'm under president's business. I have no wisdom to dispense, but it is sure nice to feel the warmth of the sun these days, isn't it? So with that being said, motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilman Balliet, seconded by Councilman Anders. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. 7 ayes, meeting adjourned at 8:13,
Yep.
way past sunset.